Assalamu alaikum dear students, I am Anjum Shafiq, your biology teacher for grade 10, and today we are going to discuss the exercise of our last chapter. So let's start. So first of all, multiple choice questions. So dear students, we have a question. Antibiotics are used for the, so dear students, it is very much clear to you. Antibiotics, these are the drugs which are these are the medicinal drugs which are used against the treatment of bacterial infections. So option alpha is treatment of viral infections. No dear students, that is not the correct option. Beta option says the treatment of bacterial infections. Yes, my dear student, that is the correct option for this question. So antibiotics, these are the medicinal drugs which are used against the treatment of bacterial infections. Here we have another question. The substances used for the treatment, cure, prevention or diagnosis of disease are called. तो ऐसे कौन से substances हैं जो कि treatment के लिए, cure के लिए या prevention के लिए या diagnosis के लिए इस्तेमाल होते हैं किसी भी disease के लिए. So these very substances or these chemicals are called. Option delta is sedatives. No dear students, they cause sedation. Option Charlie is hallucinogens. So that is, these are the addictive drugs. That is not the answer of our question. Option beta says narcotics. So that is also a strong painkiller, but that comes under the category of addictive drugs. So the only option remaining is alpha. It says medicinal drugs. Yes, dear students, these are the substances which are used for the treatment, cure, prevention or diagnosis of disease. So the correct answer is option alpha, that is medicinal drugs. Here we go. Another question. Aspirin is categorized as. So aspirin हमने पढ़ा था in the sources of drugs, medicinal drugs. So hopefully आपको याद आ गया होगा. So option alpha is a drug from animals. No dear students, it is not from animal source. Option beta says a synthetic drug. Yes, my dear student, that is the correct option. A synthetic drug is a drug which is prepared in the laboratory. So aspirin, it is prepared in the laboratory. So that is the correct option for this question. It is neither from plants, neither from animals, and neither from the minerals. So the correct option for this question is beta, that is a synthetic drug. Here we go, another question. The drugs used to reduce pain are known as. So yes, my dear students, the painkillers are known as in medical terminology. Option delta is sedatives. No, they induce sedation. Option Charlie is antibiotics. No, dear students, that is the drugs which are used for the treatment against bacterial infections. Option beta says antiseptics. No, dear students, these are the drugs which are used to prevent sepsis. Only option remaining is alpha, that is analgesics. Yes, dear students, that is the correct answer for this question. The drugs used to reduce pain are called as analgesics. Here we have another question. Which of the following drug is obtained from plants? So option alpha is aspirin. No, my dear students, aspirin is obtained from the labs. It is prepared in the labs. Its source is synthetic. It's a synthetic drug. Option beta says opium. Yes, dear students, opium is a drug which is obtained from plants. Option Charlie is phylosporin. That is a type of an antibiotic. Option delta is insulin. That is a hormone. So all these are not the drugs which are obtained from plant except the beta, that is opium, the poppy plant. Here is another question. Which of these addictive drugs are also used as painkillers? So dear students, addictive drugs are the drugs which make the person dependent upon them. So which one of these addictive drug is used as painkillers? So option alpha is narcotics. Yes, dear students, the narcotics are strong painkillers. So that is why they are given in combination with some less potent painkillers like paracetamol, so that the person doesn't become dependent upon them. Option beta is sedatives. No, dear students. Option Charlie is hallucinogens. No, dear students. So the only correct option is alpha, that is narcotics. Here we have another question. Sulfonamides affect bacteria in the following way. So sulfonamides, they are the category of or the type of antibiotics. So how do they affect bacteria? Option alpha is break their cell wall. No, dear students, that is not the correct option. Option beta is inhibit the protein synthesis. No, dear students, that is also not the correct option for this question. Option Charles is stop the synthesis of new cell wall. No, dear students, that is also not the correct option for this question. So the only option remaining is delta. It says stop the synthesis of folic acid. Yes, dear students, that is the correct option for our question, that the sulfonamides, they stop the synthesis of folic acid. Here we have another question. What is true about vaccines? So dear students, vaccines डिटेल से पढ़ा था, तो नीचे दिए गई ऑप्शंस में कौन सी ऐसी ऑप्शन है जो कि वैक्सीन्स के हवाले से बिल्कुल ठीक है. सो वी स्टार्ट फ्रॉम डेल्टा ऑप्शन. Delta option says protect against viral infections only. No, dear students, it also protects us against the bacterial. Option Charlie is treat existing infections and also protect against the future infections. No, dear students, it is not the treatment, it is just the prevention. This is not correct answer. Option beta says treat the existing bacterial infections only. No, dear students, it is also used for the treatment of viral infection as well. So the only option remaining is protect against the future viral and bacterial infections. So that is the correct option. So that is true about the vaccines. Here we go for the short question now. What are the sources of drugs? Give examples. So drugs are obtained from the following sources. Drugs from fungi and plants. For example, penicillin. It is obtained from a fungus. And a cardiotonic from the foxglove plant. Like this, drugs from animals, for example, antitoxins. Drugs from minerals, for example, pyodine or iodine or tincture of iodine. Or drugs from bacteria like streptomycin. Here we have another question. Write a note on sedatives, narcotics and hallucinogens. So we have discussed in detail in our lectures. Here we just go for the overview. Sedatives, these drugs interact with central nervous system to depress its activities. Sedative drugs induce dizziness, lethargy, slow brain function, and depression. So the long-term use of sedatives induce suicidal thoughts. So that is also an important MCQ. So which one of the following drugs induce the suicidal thoughts? So these are the sedatives. The next one are the narcotics. Narcotics are strong painkillers. These drugs are often prescribed in conjunction with other less potent painkillers like paracetamol or aspirin. So these are used to relieve pain for patients with chronic disease such as cancer. These are also used to relieve acute pain after operations, but some people may abuse narcotics for ecstatic effects. Morphine and codeine are narcotics derived from opium poppy plant. The third category is hallucinogens, which causes hallucinations. So hallucinogens are the drugs that cause changes in the perception, thoughts, emotions, and consciousness. The group includes mescaline, which comes from a cactus, and psilocin, which comes from a mushroom. Here we have another question. Describe the major groups of antibiotics. So there are three major groups of antibiotics, my dear students, we have discussed in detail. Cephalosporin, tetracyclines, sulfur drugs, or which we call them as sulfonamides. Here we have another question. Write a note on resistance against antibiotics, or simply we can say antibiotic resistance. That is an important question. So bacteria have a number of ways of developing resistance. Sometimes their internal mechanisms stop the working of antibiotics. Bacteria can also transfer the genes responsible for antibiotic resistance between them by conjugation. So such resistant bacteria make it possible for other bacteria to acquire resistance. Here we have another question. Write a note on sedatives, narcotics, and hallucinogens. So, dear students, we have discussed in detail another reason for increasing. So, editor, please cut this sentence. Another reason for increasing antibiotic resistance in bacteria is their use in diseases in which they have no efficacy. For example, antibiotics are not effective against infections caused by viruses. So, resistance to antibiotics poses a serious and growing problem because some infectious diseases are becoming more difficult to treat. Some of the resistant bacteria can be treated with more powerful antibiotics, but there are some infections that do not eliminate even with the new most powerful antibiotics. Here we have another question. Describe the mode of action of vaccines. So, how do vaccines work? So, pathogens contain special proteins which are called as antigens. When the pathogens enter the body via blood of the host, these proteins stimulate the immune response in the host, that is the synthesis of antibodies. The antibodies bind to the pathogens and destroy them. In addition, memory cells are produced which remain in the blood for a long time and provide protection against the future infections with the same pathogen. When a vaccine, that is a weakened or dead pathogen, is introduced into the bloodstream, the white blood cells or leukocytes are stimulated, especially the B lymphocytes. They recognize the weakened or dead pathogens as enemies and start producing antibodies against them. These antibodies remain in the blood and provide protection against pathogens. If the real pathogen enters the blood, the already present antibodies kill them before they multiply. Here we have another question. Define pharmacology and distinguish it from pharmacy. We have discussed in the first lecture. So, pharmacology is the study of drugs, composition, properties, and medicinal applications. In pharmacology, the pharmacy is the name used for the profession. Pharmacy is the science and the technique of preparing and dispensing the drugs studied and produced by the pharmacologists. Differentiate between medicinal drug and addictive drug. So, dear students, that is a very important question. A medicinal drug is defined as any chemical substance used in the diagnosis, cure, treatment, or prevention of disease, while some drugs often make a person dependent on them or addicted. These may be called as addictive drugs. Here is another question. Differentiate between analgesic and antibiotic. So, dear students, analgesics are the painkillers. They reduce the pain. For example, aspirin, paracetamol, etc. While antibiotics, these are the chemicals or substances which inhibit or kill bacteria and treat bacterial infections. For example, tetracyclines, cephalosporins, sulfonamides, etc. Here is another question. What is marijuana? To which category of the addictive drugs it belongs to? So, dear students, marijuana, or which is also called as hashish, is a hallucinogen which is smoked. It is an important MCQ. Mark it as an important MCQ. So, the hallucinogen which is smoked is marijuana. It is obtained from the flowers, stems, and leaves of the marijuana plant. Its scientific name is Cannabis sativa and Cannabis indica. Small doses of marijuana result in a feeling of well-being that lasts for 2 to 3 hours. High doses increases the heart rate. It also affects the production of sperms or spermatogenesis in men and also weakens the short-term memory. Here we have another question. differentiate between narcotics and hallucinogens. So narcotics are strong painkillers. These drugs are often prescribed in conjunction with other less potent painkillers like paracetamol or aspirin. These are used to relieve pain for patients with chronic disease such as cancer. These are also used to relieve acute pain after operations, while hallucinogens are the drugs that cause changes in perception, thoughts, emotion, and consciousness. Physiologically, hallucinogens affect the sympathetic nervous system, causing the dilatation of pupils, constriction of some arteries, and a rise in blood pressure. So dear students, hopefully आज का लेक्चर भी आपको क्लैरिफाई हो गया होगा. सो अपना ख्याल रखिएगा और इन एक्सरसाइजेस को अच्छे तरीके से प्रिपेयर कीजिएगा फॉर बोर्ड एग्जामिनेशन. अपना ख्याल रखिएगा. अल्लाह हाफिज़.